Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. We're back with another thrilling episode of What If Naruto was the White Fire Prince. What if after abandoning his siege and returning home Iroh's fleet was caught in a storm and ended up in the elemental nations? There Iroh meets Naruto and after learning of his hard life decides to adopt him as his son and take him to the Fire Nation. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to shower some appreciation onto the incredible author responsible for this fanfiction. The link is conveniently waiting for you in the description down below. Before we get into it though, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. With Naruto, almost 2 years after the fight between him and Azula, things for the now 11-year-old Naruto had gone fairly smoothly. In fact, in some ways they improved. After a year of hard training under his adopted father, Naruto's fire-bending skills had improved greatly from the time of his battle with Azula. He could now control his flames better without them blasting him away. His skill in flying also improved greatly, where he could fly in the sky at even greater speed and maneuver better when flying. Although he still had trouble making sharp turns and in landing, especially if he was flying at high speed, where he had more than one crash landing. After his fight with Azula, Naruto had also become the hero of the palace servants and the lower class guards. For he had won an important battle between the common class and the higher class, where he had soundly defeated Azula in front of everyone in fair battle and proven that even a common-born boy could defeat a member of the royal family. After the battle, the servants and many of the guards went out of their way to pay their respects, by offering anything he could want and calling him by his official title and even bowing to him. Naruto of course felt uncomfortable when they did all this, but knew he couldn't do anything about it, since they looked up to him. Naruto's reputation among the more noble families also grew immensely, where many noble families started to treat him with more respect. Some of them even invited him over to their homes for dinner or to introduce him to their families, or to be exact, their daughters. This of course did not surprise Naruto, since his adopted father Iroh had explained to him that once he revealed his white flames, many noble families would try and sway Naruto into joining with him, by offering one of their daughters' hand in marriage, or better yet, have their daughter draw him to them, allowing them to not only elevate their family's status, but also allow them to try and learn the secret to his unique fire bending, furthering their status in the Fire Nation. But with many noble families treating him with more respect, there were still those who treated him with disdain, since to them, Naruto had humiliated the noble class by defeating Azula. Furthermore, many were jealous of Naruto's ability to create white flames, which were clearly more powerful than ordinary fire, and felt that he was undeserving of such power. Naruto of course ignored these people, since his father had once told him that people can often be jealous of others who can do things that they cannot, and that it was best to just ignore them. Surprisingly, Azula made no real attempt to avenge her loss to Naruto. In fact, for the most part the female firebender ignored Naruto and went out of her way to avoid him. It was only later that Naruto learned from that Fire Lord Ozai had ordered his daughter to leave him alone and to not try anything against him. This news of course surprised Naruto, since the blonde was certain that if anyone wanted him to pay for defeating Azula, it would be his uncle. Given how he had defeated his prized daughter in front of most of the royal court, he even later heard that relations between father and daughter soured a bit, due to some argument that happened between the two. What exactly the argument was about, no one knew. But regardless of her father's orders, Azula made sure to make Naruto pay in some way, where she made sure that both Tai Li and Mai were around her as much as possible and limited Naruto's time with them. This of course hurt Naruto greatly, since he hardly ever got to see either of his female friends. But fortunately he still had Zuko and Xiao Zi to hang around with, as well as his adopted father, his personal guards John and Hu, and some of the palace servants and guards. Another thing that changed over the past year was his relationship with Ozai, where the Fire Lord actually treated him with some measure of respect and was actually courteous to Naruto, and spoke to him at times in a respectful tone. He even stopped making snide remarks about Naruto being common-born and complimented him. He also had Naruto and Azula spar with one another once a week under his direct supervision, under the guise of improving both their fire bending. To most people, these attempts by Ozai were signs of him warming up to Naruto, but these were in fact just ways to learn more about Naruto white flames. Both Iroh and Naruto quickly realized what Ozai's true intentions were, which was why Iroh always made sure that he was with Naruto when he went to have his spars with Azula. So to make sure that things would not go too far between the two of them and to make sure that his brother did not try anything on Naruto. But what neither of them knew was that Ozai had a secondary objection. He hoped to use the spars as a way for Azula and Naruto to become closer with one another, where he could eventually arrange a marriage between the two of them. Unfortunately, that plan was failing miserably, where all the sparring did was inflame the rivalry between the two cousins even more. It of course didn't help matters that Azula utterly resented the idea of marrying Naruto, especially after her humiliating defeat to Naruto in front of most of the palace and the noble families. The fact that she lost to a lowly commoner still burned her, especially since Naruto possessed flames that could easily overcome her own flames. This heated rivalry and dislike of her adopted cousin was the result of the dispute between the father and daughter, where Ozai wanted her to get closer to him, while she wanted nothing more than to defeat and kill him. Currently, Naruto was walking through the palace looking for his father, who he was supposed to meet for training. After looking in the usual places his father liked to go in the palace, Naruto decided to see if he was in his room. Accompanying Naruto as always was Xiao Zi, who sat on Naruto's shoulder. Once they arrived at his adopted father's room, Naruto knocked on his door. But still receiving no reply, Naruto opened the double doors and looked in to make sure. When Naruto entered the room, he found that his adopted father wasn't in his room and guessed that he was probably still in the War Council meeting with the Fire Lord and the other generals. Deciding to wait here until his father returned, Naruto went over to the large bookshelf in his father's room, which was filled with various books and scrolls that his father had collected over the years. At the same time, Xiao Zi jumped off Naruto's shoulder and went over into a small table filled with fruit and began to munch on a red apple. Not knowing how long he would have to wait until his adopted father's return, Naruto decided to look at some of the scrolls and maybe try out a new fire-bending move and practice it before his father returned. After taking a scroll and opening it, Naruto was surprised to see that the scroll he had found was not a fire-bending scroll like he thought. Instead, it was an airbending scroll. An airbending scroll? But where did Dad find this? And why would he even have this? Naruto thought in surprise, since airbenders were basically extinct. Naruto of course knew about airbenders from his father, since before coming to the Fire Nation, Iroh had made sure Naruto knew the true history of the four great nations and not the Fire Nation propaganda version. From what Naruto remembered about the air nomads, they were the smallest of the four nations. Yet they were a peaceful people who were deeply spiritual and lived in harmony with nature. They were also the only nation whose population was made up entirely of benders. From what his adopted father had told him, they lived on large temples that were built on mountain tops, hidden away in high mountain ranges, and traveled around on flying bison, who were also said to be the first beings to airbend, much like how dragons were the first to firebend. Naruto had also heard from his father that in many ways the air nomads were like him, Naruto, where they were fun-loving and had a strong sense of humor. Yet despite their peaceful nature, they were not safe from the war, where 100 years ago in the first years of the war, Fire Lord Sozin launched a devastating attack on the air nomads, where according to Fire Nation history, Fire Lord Sozin marched his army to face the air nomad army and defeated them in a great battle. But the truth was Fire Lord Sozin attacked the air nomads in a coordinated and unprovoked surprise attack on their temples, where he had his armies massacre every air nomad, right down to the last child. According to his adopted father, the reason why Sozin had ordered this mass genocide of the air nomads was all to get one person, the Avatar. The only person in the world who has the ability to master all four of the elemental bending arts. Yet despite wiping out most of the air nomads, the Avatar somehow escaped and hasn't been seen in over 100 years. This was of course something Naruto hated about his new home, not only because they started a pointless war to conquer the other nations, but also because they wiped out an entire people, something Naruto found was inexcusable. As Naruto looked at the scroll, he found several of the airbending moves to be pretty cool and wondered if he could incorporate some of the moves with his fire bending. Deciding to try one of the moves out and see how it felt like, Naruto slowly started to do the moves done on the scroll. Just as he finished doing the move, a large gush of air erupted from his hands. At the same time, the door to the room opened up and the person was blown out of the room, just as he entered it. When Naruto saw what he had done, he immediately looked up and saw that the person he had blown out of the room was his adopted father Iroh. "Dad, are you okay?" Naruto cried as he raced over to Iroh, who had smashed into the wall behind him. "Oh, I'm afraid not, as I don't believe I will ever be able to dance the same way again." As soon as Naruto heard his father say this, he smiled, knowing he was okay. That might be a good thing, Dad. As to be honest, your moves weren't exactly that great. What? Said Iroh in a mock and overdramatic tone, as Naruto helped him back up. I will have you know that when I was young I was praised by all for my camelephant strut. Yeah, maybe back before the war started, Naruto said with a smile as he led his father back into the room and helped him to a nearby seat. I'm old, but I'm not that old, Iroh said with a smile. But if you don't mind, could you tell me what happened? As one minute I was opening the door and the next, I was making a rather impressive imitation of a messenger hawk. At least until I had the ill fortune of bumping into the wall. Sorry, that was kind of my fault. You see, I came here looking for you, since we were supposed to train today. But I couldn't find you, so I decided to wait here until you showed up and maybe look at some of the scrolls you had in the wall. What scroll did you look at? This, Naruto said as he showed his father the airbending scroll. How do you have this? I came across this scroll when I was campaigning in the Earth Kingdom and decided to keep it, so that it wouldn't be destroyed. But how was I able to airbend just now? I thought only the Avatar could use the other bending arts. Wait, I can't be the Avatar, can I? Naruto asked, as he knew about the Avatar from his father when they were first traveling to the Fire Nation. No, I don't believe so, Naruto. You're much too young, and the last no Avatar was said to have come from the air nomads, and lived over 100 years ago and disappeared right before the war started. But he would be long dead by now, and you said that right after the Avatar dies he or she is reborn. Yes, but if that was true, the Avatar would have been reborn in the Water Tribe and then the Earth Kingdom. Neither of which happened, which is why the Fire Nation believes he is still alive somewhere or was simply never reborn in air nomads. But if that's true, then how am I able to airbend? At this question, Iroh remained silent as he tried to think of a way to explain how Naruto could airbend. Eventually, though, he remembered something and quickly went over to his bookshelf and took one of the large books from it and opened it up. For the next few minutes, Naruto watched his father look through the book, scanning each page for only a few seconds before turning to the next page. Seeing this, Naruto naturally asked his father what he was looking for in the book, but surprising, his father ignored him and continued to look through the book. After a few minutes of searching, though, Naruto heard his father cry in triumph. Yes, I believe this explains everything. What is it, Dad? What did you find? I believe I found the reason why you're able to use both airbending and firebending. How? What is that book? This book is something I picked up right before I found you, Naruto. You see, according to this book, your people are born with a naturally affinity for a specific element, much like how people from the Fire Nation can firebend. But unlike the 4 great nations, your people's affinity for elements is defined genetically, not by one's nationality. Also, unlike benders, your people can use more than one element. I believe you have an affinity for wind, which is how you're able to airbend. It also explains why you were unable to firebend until the QB gave you the ability. So because I have a natural affinity for wind and because I come from the elemental continent, I can bend both fire and wind? Yes, although it's also possible that you also have a hidden talent for airbending as well, which would explain how you did it naturally just now. This is awesome! Naruto cheered, as he thought about all the different things he could do once he could learn to airbend. But as he was cheering, a somber look appeared on his father's face. Seeing this, Naruto quickly looked back at him. What's wrong, Dad? I thought this would be a good thing. Oh, it is, Naruto. It is wonderful, the former fire general said. But it also puts you in a very unique position that could place you in grave danger. What do you mean? If you were to reveal that you could airbend, there are others in the Fire Nation who would believe like you did, that you're the Avatar. Even if we explain our belief, most might not believe us, and even if they did, it would make you an even bigger target for my brother. What do you mean? The reason why I was so late was because I was talking to one of your servant friends, who told me of an argument she overheard between my brother and Princess Azula. What sort of argument? It seems my brother desires to find a way to use your unique white flames for himself. According to the servant, my brother wants Princess Azula to get closer to you and later arrange a marriage between the two of you. What? Me marry Azula! Naruto yelled loudly, causing Xiaozi cry in surprise before hiding behind the fruit bowl. Naruto, my boy, please do not help. Iroh pleaded gently, as he preferred not to go deaf just yet, not to mention he was worried that someone would overhear them. Sorry, but the idea of me marrying Azula is just yuck! Naruto said in disgust at the idea, since Azula was his cousin, sure not in blood but still she was technically his cousin. I understand. Although I have to tell you, such things are not that uncommon in noble families. Naruto of course couldn't help but shudder at the idea, while also affirming his belief that noble families were weird. I guess that explains why the Fire Lord has been so nice to me. Yes, although I will admit I did not think he would go to such lengths to obtain your white flames. I also have no doubts that if he learned of your ability to airbend, he would go to even greater lengths. For you're the first person other than the Avatar to have the ability to bend more than one element. But how exactly would me marrying Azula help him gain my white flames? It's not like I can teach other people how to use them. I fear it because we made my brother think that your white flames were a bloodline, and he believes that if you and Princess Azula were to marry and have children, your children would inherit the ability to use white flames, allowing him to have an elite group of firebenders, unlike any others that have exist. I'm guessing that Azula doesn't agree with the Fire Lord's plan? Naruto asked, since it would explain the slight hostility between the father and the daughter. Yes, it seems that Princess Azula finds the idea of marrying you as deplorable as you do, Iroh replied, since this disagreement helped them. But I fear it is only a matter of time before my brother eventually forces his will and gets her to agree. Well, she welcome to try, but it will never happen, Naruto said with a slight laugh, as the idea of Azula flirting was laughable to say the least. Even more so since Naruto was fairly sure that Azula didn't even know how to flirt with a boy, let alone try and seduce him. She preferred to intimidate or scare people into doing what she wanted. Perhaps, but I would not be surprised if my brother tries and force a marriage between the two of you, Iroh mentioned. Can he do that? Naruto asked in surprise. There are very few things that the Fire Lord cannot do, Naruto, which is why I believe it may be best if you leave the capital for a while and stay out of sight. At least until I can think of something that will keep my brother from doing anything like that. But where will I go? Recently I have heard Prince Zuko will be leaving shortly to train in swordsmanship under Master Piandao, the Fire Nation's finest swords master and maker. I believe I will be able to arrange for you to go with Prince Zuko and study under Master Piandao as well under the guises of training in swordsmanship as well. But I don't want to leave, Naruto said as he did not like the idea of leaving his father. And I do not wish you to leave either, Naruto, said Iroh gently as he placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder. But this is for the best until things here settle. Besides, you will have Prince Zuko to keep you company, and although I'm sure he wouldn't admit it, I believe he would appreciate having a friend with him. Besides, you don't want to be hanging around with an old man like me all the time. You might start to smell like me. After saying this, Naruto moved forward and hugged his adopted father tightly. I don't care if I do smell or not, you're my dad and I love you. When Naruto said this, a small tear fell from Iroh's eye and he gently hugged his adopted son back. I love you too, Naruto. 2 weeks later. After a long journey from the capital, the two Fire Nation princes Zuko and Naruto arrived at Master Piandao's castle. The two princes had been escorted to the castle by a royal procession, so to ensure their safety. But once they arrived at the castle, Piandao's butler Fad insisted that they were to leave and that only Naruto and Zuko would be allowed to enter. Naturally, the guards argued against this. But eventually Zuko ordered the guards that they were to leave, stating that they would be fine. Once Zuko ordered them to leave, the guards reluctantly obeyed and left, after which the two princes were allowed to enter. After traveling through the large castle courtyard and halls, they eventually entered a large room with large windows all around so to let the sunlight in. Once they entered the room, Naruto and Zuko saw a man sitting alone with his back turned to them performing calligraphy. Naturally, when they saw him, the two princes correctly assumed that this was Master Piandao. But to their surprise, he did not turn to them and ignored their presence and continued to draw. Unsure of what to say or do, both Zuko and Naruto looked to one another to see if the other knew what they should do next. Seeing that neither had a clue as to what to do, both boys shrugged their shoulders and decided to wait for the master swordsman to acknowledge them, knowing that to try and force the man's attention of them could result in them being expelled from the castle. As the boys waited for Master Piandao to acknowledge their presence, Xiao Zi, who had been hiding underneath Naruto's shirt, popped his head out of Naruto's shirt. Seeing his little friend, Naruto tried to get the little monkey to go back underneath his shirt. Unfortunately, Xiao Zi was much too curious as to where he was, to do what his master wanted and jumped out Naruto's shirt. Xiao Zi nana! Naruto hissed angrily after the small monkey escaped. After escaping Naruto, Xiao Zi looked around his new surrounds and upon seeing Master Piandao, he went over to see what the man was doing, before Naruto could capture him. Once the little monkey reached the elder master, he quickly climbed up the man's back and onto his shoulder to see what he was doing. Seeing this, Naruto started to panic, fearing that his small friend would anger Piandao. Zuko, on the other hand, could only groan with annoyance. He had expected something like this to happen, which was why he told Naruto to leave Zi with his father. But his blonde cousin could not bear to leave his pet behind and snuck him with him. After seeing Zi climb Piandao's back and onto his shoulder, the elder teen smacked his forehead with annoyance and shook his head. Fearing what would happen, Naruto was about to apologize to the elder master and go over and take Zi off his shoulder. But before he could say or do anything, Piandao placed his brush down and started to pant the small monkey on the head with his index finger. Little fellow, a fitting name," the elder sword master commented, before he picked up the little monkey off his shoulder and into his left hand, and continued to pet Zi on the head. After about a minute, Piandao turned around to look at the two boys, all the while he continued to pet the little monkey in his hand. Piandao was a tall, thin, elderly-looking man with short black hair that was tied up in a small knot, and a small, well-trimmed beard and stern-looking face. When the master looked at the two princes, he soon turned to Naruto. "I am assuming, given your appearance, that you are Prince Naruto, General Iroh's son, and this little one here is your pet." Yes I am, and yes, Zi belongs with me, but I consider him my friend more than a pet, and I'm sorry about him bothering you." "That is quite alright, he obviously meant no harm, but I believe you should teach him to be more careful, as being too curious can be dangerous for someone so small." "I will," Naruto promised, while at the same time, glad that Piandao was not angry, as was Zuko, where he let out a sigh of relief. "Naruto? That is a rather unusual name. It means maelstrom, where I come from," Naruto answered, leaving out how the fact that his name also meant fish cake, since he never liked that about his name, even though it was a topping of his favorite food, ramen. "I see, very interesting. I have also heard that you come from a land far from the Fire Nation and the other 4 nations, and that it is filled with a warrior class with unique abilities, some of which are very similar to the bending arts, and that you are able to summon unique white flames that do not die." "Yes, I can. I can also tell you a bit about where I come from if you are interested," Naruto said, hoping to make a good impression with the master swordsman. "I will admit I would enjoy hearing about a land I have never seen or heard of before. But we will have to leave that matter for another time, as we are moving away from the matter at hand, which involves why you are both here," Piandao answered. "Now, as you both know, I was contacted by your respected fathers to teach you the art of the sword. Normally I would refuse such requests, but even I cannot refuse the Fire Lord or the Dragon of the West when they asked me to teach you both. But I want to make this perfectly clear. You are to do everything I say without question. I will not refer to either of you by your titles, but you will call me Master. The art of the sword is a long and arduous path, and to master it will not be easy. You will have to work hard and keep your mind open to all possibilities. If I am not happy with your progress, I will send you back to your fathers, regardless of the consequences. Am I clear?" "Yes, Master," replied both princes and bowed lowly to show that they understood. "Good," Piandao replied, who seemed pleased with Naruto and Zuko's responses. "We will begin training tomorrow. Zuko, you may leave. Fat here will show you to your room." "And what about me, Master?" Naruto asked. "You will stay, Naruto. I wish to talk to you about a private matter concerning your father," Piandao answered. Curious, Naruto looked to his cousin Zuko, who just shrugged his shoulders, as like Naruto he had no clue what Piandao was talking about. But once Zuko and Fat left the room, Piandao turned his attention back to the blonde boy. "When your father contacted me asking for me to teach you swordsmanship, he also asked me to help in several other matters, one of which involves your ability to perform airbending. He told you about that?" Naruto asked in surprise. "He did, but you need not worry, I will keep your secret and help you train in it." "But how?" Naruto asked, since he highly doubted that the old swords master was a secret airbender as well. "Oh, I've seen a lot of things in my time and have picked up a thing or two that may be of some help to you," Piandao replied with a knowing smile. "Now, as I've been led to understand, your father gave you a scroll on airbending, is that correct?" Piandao asked, to which Naruto nodded. "Good, that should help speed things along. But still, as you're aware, we must keep this secret, which is why we will perform your airbending training at night and keep it hidden from your cousin." After Piandao said this, Naruto just nodded. Normally he would have objected to this, since he trusted his cousin. But his father explained to him before he left that the fewer people knew about his ability to airbend, the safer everyone would be. Once Piandao saw Naruto's nod, he decided to move on to the next issue he wanted to talk to Naruto about. "Now on to the next matter your father wanted me to help you with. Tell me, Naruto, has your father told you of the Order of the White Lotus?" "No," Naruto said as he shook his head. "What's that?" "The Order of the White Lotus is an ancient and secret society that transcends the boundaries of the 4 nations, seeking philosophy, beauty, and truth. They are devoted to the sharing of ancient knowledge across national and political divides. It was formed centuries ago by the wisest scholars from all over the world. The order began as a club where these ancient masters could challenge one another on the pie show table. They derived their name from the white lotus tile used in pie show, a key element in their strategy. So my dad and you are a member of this white lotus order thing? Naruto asked. Yes, although your father is much more than just a member. He is the Grand Master and Grand Lotus of the order, a position that few have ever held in the order. When Naruto heard this, he was naturally surprised, as he never would have expected his father held such an important position in a secret society. But what do I have to do with the White Lotus? I'm not a member. Not yet. Your father has asked me to not only train in swordsmanship and help you with your airbending, but to also make you a Lotus apprentice. While you're studying here, I will teach you of our ancient ways and show you things that few people have ever seen. When Piandao finished explaining, Naruto was naturally left stunned, as he couldn't believe that he was going to join an ancient a secret society like the White Lotus. But before he could get too excited, he suddenly thought of something. But why me? Is it because my dad is a Grand Master? Or is it because of my white flames? Not exactly, answered Piandao. Although your white flames are highly unusual and the fact you are the first person other than the Avatar to be able to bend more than one element. The reason why your father wants you to join the Order of the White Lotus is because he believes that you will have an enormous impact on the four nations, and will need the Order's help to be ready for it. But how? For centuries your people and the four nations have been separated by a great sea and have never come into contact with one another, let alone even known that the other existed. But when your father landed in your land and brought you back here, he revealed that there were other people and places that weren't known with abilities completely new to us. He also did the same thing for your people by landing there, and by raising you here he has made you a person of both lands and people. You have the potential of being a bridge between the four nations and your birth land, something that could change everything for both us and your people. When Piandao finished explaining things, Naruto did not know what to say, as he couldn't believe that his dad was putting so much faith into him. But what if I mess things up? What if I bring the war to the elemental continent? What if people of my village still hate me and turn on Dad and the others? What if? Naruto said, but before he could finish, Piandao interrupted him. I know that this may be a great deal to take in and is a heavy burden, Naruto, but I believe you will make the right decisions and will rise to the occasion. As your father has faith in you, and the Grand Lotus is not a man who would place something like this on you unless he believed you could handle it. Besides, I am certain that you will not be alone when the time comes. When Naruto heard this, Naruto started to calm down a bit, after which Piandao stood up and handed Xiao Zi back to Naruto, who jumped onto the blonde's right shoulder. Now then, said Piandao as he placed his left hand on Naruto's free shoulder and gave him a kind smile. I think it's time that I showed you to your room and allow you to get settled. Dinner will soon be ready, and I must confess Fat is a rather good cook. Nodding at this, Naruto allowed the elder man to lead the way, where the two of them quickly exited the room. 6 months later. After arriving at Master Piandao's castle, the past 6 months flew by fairly quickly for the two boys. When the boys first started training, Master Piandao had them practice painting, writing, drawing, and calligraphy. Naturally, the two princes didn't see much point in doing this, but they followed their master's orders without question, just as they promised before they started. But later Piandao explained that calligraphy, drawing, and other forms of art allowed a swordsman to keep his mind sharp, focused, and fluid. It also taught them how to take in their surroundings and remember them when they only have a second to look at them. At first, neither Zuko nor Naruto showed much talent for drawing, painting, or calligraphy. But as time moved on, they slowly got better and improved, although they were far from master artists. Later the boys moved on to more physical training, learning and practicing different sword moves with wooden swords. After that they would then spar with Fat, who surprisingly turned out to be a skilled swordsman. As time moved on, Piandao started teaching them rock gardening, saying that it taught them how to use their surroundings to their advantage. Remarkably, both Naruto and Zuko showed impressive improvement within a few months, where in a short amount of time, both of them were able to defeat Fat in their spars. Seeing this, Master Piandao had the two boys spar with one another or against him. He would even sometimes spar against both of them at the same time, although the result remained the same every time, where both boys would get their asses handed to them by the elder man. For months into their training, Master Piandao decided that both Naruto and Zuko were ready to have their own swords and would make it themselves. Naturally, both boys were pleased to hear this, and after choosing what type of swords they were to make and what materialized their swords would be made out of, they began to work on them, with the help of Piandao and Fat. It took about a month of hard work to make them, but eventually their swords were complete. Zuko chose to make a pair of dual Dao swords, while Naruto made a long silver katana, with no guard and a pure handle and white sheath. Once the swords were made, Piandao had Naruto and Zuko train in using them, knowing that using real swords were much different from wooden training swords, given their weight and shape. Also during the 6 months, on every second night after he arrived at the castle, Naruto began his training as an apprentice Lotus. During these nights he learned more about the Order of the White Lotus and its ways, which included playing Pai Sho. This of course came of no great surprise to Naruto, given the amount of times his father had him play against him. On every third night Naruto began his secret training in airbending with the help of Piandao. Unlike his firebending, Naruto's airbending ability came a lot more natural to him, where he was able to grasp the basics of airbending quickly, which he learned from some scrolls Master Piandao had, who received them over the weeks from Iroh, who contacted other White Lotus members for any scrolls, books or information they had on airbending. Thanks to these scrolls, which taught him the basics, Naruto was able to learn some of the more complex moves that were in the scroll that he found in his father's room. But despite his improvement, Naruto's airbending skills were fairly limited since there was only so many moves the scroll could teach him, and the books and scrolls his father sent were just as limited or didn't tell very much. This was of course no great surprise since not many things survived the genocide of the air nomads. Also during the 6 months, Naruto and Zuko trained together to improve on their firebending, where with the help of one another they steadily improved each other's skill. They also grew closer together, where Zuko actually smiled a lot more and even laughed when Naruto made a joke or did something funny. But like all good things, they eventually came to an end, where Zuko received word from his father, telling him that he was to return to the palace 2 months earlier than they were expected to. When Piandao learned of this, he decided to have one final spar between the two princes under his supervision. "Begin!" Piandao yelled. As soon as Piandao yelled begin, the two princes raced forward and began their battle. Once he was close enough, the 3-year-old Zuko attempted a diagonal slash with his left-handed sword, but before it could cut a now 12-year-old Naruto, the blonde boy raised his katana and blocked the slash. Undeterred, Zuko then spun around to the left and attempted to slash at him again. But like before, Naruto was able to block the slash by pushing Zuko's first sword away and spinning around to meet the second. After blocking Zuko's second sword, Naruto then pushed it away and went of the offense, forcing the elder boy to go on the defensive. Naruto of course knew he needed to keep Zuko of the defensive given how he had the advantage of 2 swords, while he only had 1. Sadly though, as the fight continued, Zuko found an opening in Naruto's attacks, allowing him to move away from Naruto and slashing at him from the right side. Seeing this, Naruto was forced to jump away, which then allowed Zuko to go on the attack. Not wanting to give Zuko too much of an advantage, Naruto also went of the attack, where for the next few minutes the two boys clashed in a fury of blades. From his position above the two princes, the master swordsman Piandao watched as his 2 students battled, giving little ground to each other as they fought. Sitting on his shoulder watching the battle was also Xiaozi, who from time to time let out little cries, which Piandao guessed were cheers for Naruto and Zuko. Eventually, after a little while, Zuko gained the upper hand thanks to his dual swords and started forcing his cousin back out of the sparring ground and into the wall behind him. But before Zuko could push Naruto back into the wall, the young blonde ducked under one of Zuko's horizontal slashes and attempted to slash at the elder prince's legs. Fortunately though, Zuko was able to react in time and avoid the slash by jumping into the air. But when he landed back down, Naruto was able to roll away from him and back to the sparring ground. Not wishing to give Naruto any time to attack, Zuko quickly spun around and jumped into the air and attempted a double vertical slash down on Naruto's head with his dual swords. But before the swords could hit, Naruto moved out of the sword's path by jump away and deflect them. After Naruto avoided his double slash, Zuko moved forward and swung his right-hand sword at Naruto, who narrowly blocked the swing with his own sword and was then forced to jump back again to avoid Zuko's second sword, which was coming towards him. Once Naruto had avoided Zuko's attack, the blonde prince attempted to go on the offensive by slashing at Zuko's exposed right side. But before his attack could cut Zuko, the elder prince brought his right sword down and blocked the slash, after which he pushed Naruto's katana away and he attempted a double horizontal slash with his swords. When Naruto saw what Zuko was doing, he quickly took a step back to avoid the double slash, exposing the elder prince to an attack. Unfortunately, before Naruto could take advantage of it, Zuko jumped forward and attempted another double vertical slash. This forced Naruto to step back again to avoid it, and exposed Zuko to another attack. Seeing a golden opportunity to end the fight, Naruto raised his katana to slash at Zuko. But before he could swing his katana down on Zuko, the dark-haired boy fell backwards and preformed and double kick into Naruto's exposed chest, sending the spiky-haired blonde flying into the wall behind him. When Piandao saw this, he smiled, since Zuko had improved a great deal in his agility and flexibility after training so much with Naruto. Back when the boys first started sparring with one another, Piandao saw how agile and fast the blonde was. Knowing how valuable such skills were in a sword fight, Piandao had Zuko train with Naruto to improve his agility. But as much as Zuko's agility and speed had improved, Naruto was still much faster and much more agile. He showed this when he performed a mid-air flip, which allowed his feet to hit the wall first, where he then used the wall to propel himself towards Zuko. When Zuko got back onto his feet, he was of course surprised to see Naruto flying towards him and was barely able to lift his sword up in time to block Naruto's attack. But once he did, he pushed the blonde away and attempted to slash at him with his right-hand sword. Seeing the sword, Naruto jumped into the air to avoid it and attempted a downward slash on Zuko, who then dragged his sword onto the ground and set some dirt flying into Naruto's eyes, blinding him momentarily and forcing him to halt his attack and to move away from his cousin. Not wanting to let go of his advantage, Zuko moved forward and attacked Naruto, who had just regained his sight. Acting fast, Naruto brought his katana up and went of the defensive, blocking each of Zuko's attacks with his katana. As the fight continued, Zuko unleashed a series of relentless attacks on Naruto, preventing him from making any kind of counterattack and forcing the blonde fall back. But when Naruto blocked a downward slash from Zuko's right-hand sword, the spiky-haired prince angled the flat side of his blade to reflect the sun into Zuko's eyes, blinding the elder boy and allowing Naruto to knock the sword from his hand. Recovering quickly, Zuko raised his left-hand sword up and tried to slash at Naruto. Seeing the incoming sword from the corner of his eye, Naruto brought his katana up and blocked the slash. He then maneuvered his katana to form a small arc with Zuko's sword, forcing the elder boy to drop his sword. With Zuko now swordless, Naruto moved in to finish the fight. But before Naruto could deliver the final blow, Zuko preformed a backwards flip, allowing him to land near one of his fallen sword. When Naruto saw where Zuko landed, he quickly raced over to stop him from picking up his sword. But sadly he was too late and Zuko was able to block Naruto's strike. He then pushed Naruto's sword away and quickly rolled over to his second sword, after which he then raced over to the steps at the other end of the sparring ground and into the bamboo forest nearby. When Naruto saw where was heading, he quickly chased after his cousin and entered the bamboo forest. Seeing that Naruto was chasing after him, Zuko began to cut the bamboo trees around him, obstructing Naruto's path, forcing him to cut the fallen trees and giving Zuko more time to move away. But eventually Naruto began to catch up on Zuko, who was then used the bamboo trees themselves as a weapon, bending them and sending them flying towards Naruto, who was forced to cut them with his katana. Seeing that Zuko was using the bamboo trees against him, Naruto decided to take a page out of the shinobi text up. Using his shinobi training, Naruto jumped to the tops of the bamboo trees and leaped across them, right over Zuko. He snuck up on the unsuspecting fire prince and delivered sharp kick to the side of his face, sending him flying to the edge of the forest. Fortunately, Zuko was able to hold on to his dual swords after he was kicked, where once he picked himself up, he saw Naruto racing towards him. Knowing he couldn't take the chance of Naruto sneaking up on him again, Zuko made his way out of the bamboo forest and into the open grass. As soon as both Naruto and Zuko were outside the bamboo forest, the two boys re-engaged each other. Zuko was the first to make his move, where he used his right-hand sword to slash at Naruto, who leaped into the air to avoid it. After which he attempted a downward strike, which Zuko deflected with his left-handed sword. Not letting up, Naruto attacked again, only to have Zuko block his attack and then bring his right-hand sword from the side, which Naruto narrowly deflected with his katana as he took a step back. For the next few minutes the two boys continued their fierce sword battle, which went back and forth between the two of them. Eventually though, Zuko gained the upper hand as he forced Naruto to the edge of the nearby steps. Realizing his dangerous position, Naruto quickly preformed a backwards flip and landed at the bottom of the steps. When Naruto landed at the bottom of the steps, the two boys stared intently at one another, waiting to see who would make the first move. Watching from his position, the master swordsman Piandao could tell that this battle was nearing an end and that the next few moves would decide the outcome of the fight. After a few moments of intense staring, Naruto made the first, where he raced up the steps and then jumped up into the air and preformed a powerful downward slash. Wasting no time, Zuko quickly raised his swords to block Naruto's slash, which was stronger than he had expected, forcing him to move back. Not wanting to waste his chance, Naruto pressed his advantage and began force Zuko to the edge of the wall, where he then delivered a strong front kick that sent the Elder Prince flying down to the sparring ground below. Following after his cousin, Naruto quickly jumped down to the sparring ground, where Zuko had picked himself up and charged at the blonde with his dual swords. Wasting no time, Naruto took up a defensive stance and recommenced his battle with his elder cousin. For the next few minutes, the two boys fought fiercely with one another, each trying to push the other back and gain an edge in their fight. Eventually, Naruto regained his earlier advantage and started to force Zuko back, after he jumped into the air to avoid one of Zuko's slashes. He then swung his own sword at Zuko's head, forcing the elder boy to move back. Naruto then pressed his advantage by forcing Zuko to go on the defensive and allowing Naruto to take control of the fight. As the fight dragged on, Zuko was forced further and further back. He of course tried to counterattack and force Naruto to go on the defensive. But when he tried, Naruto avoided his double slash and then dragged his sword onto the ground, sent some dirt into his eyes, blinding Zuko temporarily. This then allowed Naruto to knock away Zuko's left sword and send it flying to the other end of the sparring ground. But before Naruto could fully disarm the Teen Prince, Zuko jumped away and put some distance between them. Unwilling to give Zuko any time to fight back, Naruto moved forward and continued his relentless assault on Zuko, forcing the elder boy to stay on the defensive and move further back. Knowing he needed to do something, Zuko blocked Naruto's downward slash and pushed the blonde back, catching him off balance and allowing Zuko to attempt a horizontal slash. Luckily though, Naruto was able to avoid the slash by falling backwards, after which he then used his natural agility to spin around on his back and kick Zuko off his feet, and causing him to fall on his back. Once Zuko was on his back, Naruto then jumped onto his feet and pointed the tip of his katana directly at Zuko's face. "Looks like I win, Zuzu," Naruto said with a smile, while using Zuko's pet name to annoy his cousin, but to Naruto's surprise he saw his cousin smirk. "I wouldn't be so sure of that." When Zuko said this, Naruto noticed that the tip of Zuko's sword was pointed at his stomach. At the same time, both boys suddenly heard their master speak. "Enough! The match is over and is a draw." Hearing this, both boys lowered their blades, after which Naruto offered his hand to help Zuko up. But instead, the elder prince picked himself up and walked over to the other end of the sparring ground to pick up his other sword. When Zuko refused his hand, Naruto rolled his eyes in annoyance, since his adopted cousin could be so stubborn at times, as he didn't like being helped, believing it was a sign of weakness. After Zuko got his other sword, the two boys walked over to their master, who had a small smile on his face. When they arrived, Xiaozi jumped off Piandao's shoulder and into Naruto's arms, after which he climbed up onto Naruto's right shoulder, who smiled and panted the little monkey. "That was very well done, both of you," a pleased Piandao said. "The two of you have shown exceptional skill in the art of the sword, and as you have shown, your hard work and dedication has paid off." When the two boys heard this, they both smiled, since having Piandao say this to them meant a lot to them. "You, Zuko, have shown great skill with your dual Dao swords, using them to your advantage against Naruto. You have also shown resourcefulness and cunning by blinding Naruto and luring him into the bamboo forest, and using your surroundings to help you fight him. These are traits that will serve you well later in life, but you also must be more flexible and less rigid and be willing to adapt to a new situation, for the key to being a master of the sword is to always remain open-minded. You also must learn to be calmer, for if you let your emotions control you, you allow your opponent to control the battle." Hearing this, Zuko nodded his head in understanding and said he would try. Nodding, Piandao then turned to Naruto. "You have also shown impressive skill in a short amount of time, Naruto. At first you were wild and untamed, swinging and slashing your sword at everything. But now you have become more focused and precise. You now understand that a sword is a weapon that is to be respected and can be used not only to end lives but to protect them when needed. Like Zuko, you have the ability to adapt to a situation, and have shown to be quite resourceful when you reflected the sun off your blade to blind Zuko. You've even shown to be able to use your speed, agility, and flexibility to your advantage and use them against larger and stronger opponents. But still, you need to learn to mind your surroundings and not allow yourself to be lured into an unfavorable situation by your enemy. You also must learn to plan ahead more, as you take many risks when you fight, which could lead to your downfall if you are not careful. Like Zuko, Naruto nodded in understand and said he would try as well. Seeing this, Piandao's smile grew where he then turned to Zuko. It was a pleasure teaching you, Prince Zuko, and I'm sorry to see you go soon but I understand that there are duties that you need to attend to at the capital, and I hope you have a safe journey. Thank you for having me, Master Piandao. I am grateful to you for allowing me to be your student, and I will not forget what you have taught me. I am pleased to hear that. You are a fine student. Now come, let us have dinner before you leave. Fat has made a farewell meal, Piandao said as he led the two princes to the dining room. Later that day, after having his last meal at Piandao's castle, Zuko returned to his room where he proceeded to gather his belongings and prepare for his journey back to the capital. Once he had finished packing, Zuko suddenly heard a knock on his door, answering with a "Enter." Zuko saw the door open and Naruto entered the room with Xiao Zi, who gave a cheeky salute to the Fire Prince. "Hey Zuzu, finished packing?" Naruto asked. "Don't call me that," Zuko said with a glare since he hated that nickname. "Easy, Zuko, I'm only kidding. I just came to see if you needed any help packing." Grunting at this, Zuko turned away from Naruto, closed his trunk. "Thanks, but I'm fine, I just finished." "Oh, okay then, just thought I could help," Naruto replied with a shrug, where he then walked over to the window with his arms crossed behind his head in a relaxed manner. When Naruto did this, Xiao Zi immediately jumped up onto the top of the blonde's head, where he then nested himself comfortable into Naruto's hair. "I still can't believe your dad is calling you back early. You think he could wait 2 more months for you to finish your training here with Master Piandao?" Naruto said as he looked out the window overlooking the countryside. "Father said he needs me to return to the capital. Unlike you, Naruto, I have duties to perform as heir to the throne. There are things I need to know so that when I become Fire Lord, I can rule this country well," Zuko answered, where he glanced at Naruto, who was still looking out the window in a relaxed manner. Seeing this, Zuko couldn't help but envy Naruto, as there were times he wished he could let go of all the pressures of being heir to the throne and relax now and again, and have fun like Naruto. "Yeah, I understand. But still, it's not going to be the same around here without you," Naruto responded as he turned around to look at Zuko. "Yeah, you'll only have Fat now to play your pranks on," Zuko replied with a small smirk, since for the past 6 months from time to time, Naruto had been liven things up in the castle with a few pranks. Naruto of course pranked both Fat and Zuko, but could never get Master Piandao. The man seemed to have eyes at the back of his head and always seemed to be a step ahead of Naruto and know where he was hiding. Smiling at this, Naruto walked over to his cousin and offered his hand. "Good luck, Zuko. I'll see you in 2 months. Don't let Azula get to you and keep practicing, as next time we spar I'm going to kick your ass." Smirking, Zuko thanked Naruto and said he wouldn't let Azula get to him, and that Naruto was welcome to try when they spar again. Soon after, Fat arrived saying the royal procession had arrived to escort him, after which Naruto and Fat helped Zuko with his things and bid farewell to him along with Master Piandao. 6 weeks later, currently sitting outside in the open rock garden, Master Piandao and Naruto was seated at a small table playing a friendly game of Pai Sho. Sitting next to the board, watching the game, was Xiao Zi, who was also playing with the tiles that were not being used. "I think this makes me the winner, Master," Naruto said after he placed his final pieces on the board. "So it seems," Piandao replied with a raised eyebrow and an impressed look. "You've improved a great deal, Naruto, but I would expect nothing less from the son of the Dragon of the West." "Thanks, I had good teachers," Naruto answered with a smile. "I have to say I will miss these games of ours when you leave," Piandao said with a small smile and a slightly saddened look, since in a few weeks Naruto would be returning to the capital. "But I'm sure your father misses you even more." "Yeah, I miss him too. I can't wait to see him again," Naruto said since he hadn't seen his father in almost 8 months and missed him dearly. "I'm sure that he will be very pleased with how you have grown. You've learned the ways of our order well, and when you return to the capital your father can begin the next stage of your training into the Order of the White Lotus." "Thank you, Master Piandao," Naruto said with a slight bow, as he was grateful for everything the master had done for him. Nodding at this, Piandao then smiled again. "Now then, if you don't mind, perhaps you would allow me a rematch and allow me to avenge my defeat?" Smiling at this, Naruto was about to agree, but before he could respond, Fat came running to him with an agitated look on his face. "Prince Naruto, a messenger hawk just arrived with an urgent message from your father, General Iroh. It concerns Prince Zuko." Quickly taking the scroll from Fat, Naruto began to read the message from his father. When he finished, Naruto gasped with disbelief. "What does the message say, Naruto?" Piandao asked with clear concern in his voice. "There was an incident at the palace. Zuko was challenged to an Agni Kai. He lost and was badly hurt from the battle, Naruto said, as he reread the message again to make sure he hadn't misunderstood anything. Shortly though, he put down the scroll and looked to Piandao. I'm sorry, master, but I have to go back to the capital today. Of course, Piandao responded before he turned to his butler. Fat, go to the town and order the faster carriage they have. At once, Fat replied before he raced off to the town. Nodding his thanks to the elder man, Naruto quickly picked Xiao Zi and raced off to his room to pack. Several days later at the palace, standing outside the room of Prince Zuko, the former dragon of the West, Iroh waited for the doctors to finish examining the injured prince. As he waited, he suddenly heard a familiar voice crying out to him. Dad! When Iroh turned, he saw his adopted son Naruto racing toward him with clear concern on his face. Naruto! The elder man cried, where he then quickly walked over to meet the blonde, where the two of them hugged each other. You received my message? Yeah, I came as quick as I could. How's Zuko? Naruto asked. When Naruto asked this, the blonde saw a distressed look on his adoptive father's face, who clearly hadn't been sleeping much the past few days. I'm afraid it is not good news. Zuko's face has been badly burnt, where he will have scars that will last him the rest of his life. What happened? Who would do that to Zuko? Was it Azula? Naruto asked, as his father's letter never told him who had done it. No, it was his father, the Fire Lord. What? Naruto yelled his disbelief. For the next few minutes, Naruto listened to what happened to his adopted cousin after he joined a war council meeting and spoke against a plan that would result in the sacrifice of an entire division of new recruits in a diversionary maneuver, seeing it as a betrayal to their patriotism. After Zuko spoke up, his outburst was seen as a grave insult, and Ozai demanded that he participate in an Agni Kai. Zuko had agreed, unaware that he would face his father, the Fire Lord, not the general he had insulted earlier. Iroh then went on to explain that after learning that he was facing his father, Zuko immediately penitent and knelt, refusing to fight, and tearfully begged for his father's forgiveness. When Ozai saw this, he declared Zuko's refusal as a sign of cowardice and another display of disrespect, where he then burnt Zuko's face, ensuring that he would never forget his shame. When Iroh finished telling Naruto what had happened, the blonde boy was left stunned, as he couldn't believe the Fire Lord would do that to his own son. He had of course known that Ozai was often cold and uncaring to Zuko, and in some ways cruel to him. But he never would have dreamed that the Fire Lord would do something like this. After a few minutes of digesting the news of what happened to Zuko, a fierce look appeared on Naruto's face. Seeing this, Iroh started to fear that his adopted son would do something foolish, and as expected, his son turned around and started to walk away from him. Naruto! Where are you going? Iroh asked. I'm going to find that bastard Ozai, and I'm going to make him pay for what he's done to Zuko. Naruto replied angrily as he marched down the hall. No, Naruto, you mustn't. Iroh replied, where he quickly raced over to Naruto and grabbed hold of the young boy. Let me go, Dad! Naruto yelled as he tried to struggle from his father's grip. As this was happening, Xiao Zi, who had been sitting on Naruto's shoulder the entire time, jumped off Naruto's shoulder and onto Iroh's shoulder, fearing the way his master was acting right now. No, Naruto, I won't let you do this. Attacking the Fire Lord will solve nothing. All it will do is cause more harm. It will not change what happened to Zuko. So we sit back and do nothing? Naruto asked angrily as he continued to struggle with his father. We let him get away with this. I'm sorry, Naruto. I know how you feel, but there is nothing we can do. Zuko accepted the Agni Kai. Even if it wasn't an official match, there is nothing we can do. The Fire Lord's rule is absolute. That isn't right, Naruto said angrily, as he felt he should do something. But before he could say anything more, Iroh turned Naruto around to face him. No, Naruto, it isn't. But you must understand that in life there are some things that we cannot control nor do anything about. So we just accept it? Naruto asked angrily as he looked at his adopted father, who could only sadly nodded. Before Naruto could respond to this, the two of them suddenly saw the double doors to Zuko's room open. Seeing the healer bother Iroh, and Naruto quickly walked over to the man to ask about Zuko's state. Excuse me, but can you tell me how Prince Zuko is? Iroh asked after they walked up to the healer. Prince Zuko is resting comfortably right now and is recovering well. He should be ready to leave tomorrow. The healer replied, to which Iroh thanked him. When the healer walked away from them, Naruto immediately turned to his adopted father. Dad, what was he talking about? Where is Zuko going? As soon as Naruto asked this, Iroh let out a tried sigh. I'm afraid Prince Zuko is being banished. What? Naruto cried in disbelief. But why? Because Zuko refused to fight my brother, The Fire Lord declared that Zuko's refusal to fight him was a sign of cowardice and another display of disrespect. So he not only burned Prince Zuko, but he also stripped him of his claim to the throne and exiled him from Fire Nation. So Zuko can never come home? Naruto asked in shock. The Fire Lord has declared that the only way Prince Zuko will be allowed to come home is if he is able to find and capture the Avatar. But he might as well say that Zuko can never return home. The Avatar disappeared over 100 years ago after the air nomads were wiped out. No one has seen or heard of the Avatar in over 100 years. I know, Naruto, but the Fire Lord has made his decision, and his mind cannot be changed once he has decided on something. Damn it, Naruto cursed as he gripped his fist tightly. After a few minutes, Naruto eventually calmed down, where he and his father decided they would go into to see Zuko. When the two of them entered the room, they saw Zuko lying on his bed staring at the ceiling. When they moved closer, Naruto could see that the Zuko had a large bandage on the left side of his face, covering his left eye. Prince Zuko, you have a visitor. Iroh spoke. Hey Zuko, how are you feeling? Naruto asked. How do you think I feel? Zuko retorted angrily as he looked at the blonde, who silently cursed himself for his poorly chosen words. I'm sorry, I know it was a stupid question to ask. Naruto replied, feeling awkward given the rough start he was having with his cousin. Yeah, it was. Zuko responded before he went back to staring at the ceiling. Prince Zuko, please, I know you are upset, but Naruto is here because he is concerned for you. He wants to help you. Help me! Zuko yelled angrily as he sat up. What can he do to help me? What can either of you do to help me? Can you help me restore my calm to the throne? Can you help me regain my honor? Can you stop my father from banishing me? Can you remove this? The teen boy yelled as she stood up and ripped the bandage from his left eye, showing Naruto and Iroh his scars. When Naruto saw the burns on the left side of Zuko's face, the young boy couldn't help but wince at them. Iroh was no different, although he just looked away, since he had been there where his brother did this to Zuko. Seeing this, Zuko just frowned. I thought as much. No one can help me. Zuko, please, if you will, Jew. Naruto said, but before he could finish, Zuko went to lie back onto his bed and turn his back to Naruto and Iroh, telling them to go. Prince Zuko, if you... Iroh said, but before he could finish, Zuko turned around and yelled. I said leave me! Not wanting to aggravate Zuko anymore, both Naruto and Iroh decided to respect Zuko's wishes and left the room. After they left the room, Iroh and Naruto made their way back to Iroh's room so that they could talk further without fear of someone listening in on them. Naruto, please don't take what Prince Zuko said to heart. He doesn't mean it. He is just angry at what happened. He will come around eventually, Iroh said after entered his room. I know that, and I don't blame him. I blame the Fire Lord. This is all his fault. What is done in the past is done, Naruto. We cannot change it no matter how much we want to. The best we can do is move past it and look to the future. Yeah, I know, but I just don't know if Zuko will be able to move past this, especially since he's going to be alone. He won't be alone, Iroh said suddenly. I have already announced that I will accompany Prince Zuko when he leaves the Fire Nation. He will need someone to be with him and help him from falling into despair and show him that there is still hope. Then I'm going with you. I was hoping you would say that, Iroh replied with a smile. But before he could say any more, he suddenly heard a knock on his door. When he opened it, he saw a servant who said he had a message for Naruto from the Fire Lord. Surprised, Iroh took the message and gave it to Naruto, who quickly opened it and began to read it. When Naruto finished, his eyes widened in shock. Seeing this, Iroh quickly became concerned. Naruto, what is it? What does the message say? It's a decree from the Fire Lord. It states that I am to enter the Royal Military Academy for boys. It states that for the interest of the Fire Nation in its war against the Earth Kingdom and the Water Tribe, I am to be sent there so that I may be properly trained in using my unique fire bending. When Iroh heard this, he quickly took the scroll from Naruto and began to read it for himself. When Iroh finished, he was forced to sit down as he couldn't believe that his brother would go this far to try and get Naruto. Dad, can the Fire Lord really do this? Naruto asked. I'm afraid so, Naruto, for as I said earlier, very little is impossible to do as Fire Lord. My brother no doubt knew that after I announced that I was going with Prince Zuko in his banishment that you would come with us. By having you to join the military academy, he making sure that you stay in the Fire Nation and that he has some level of control over you. Can't we do anything? Naruto asked. Can I refuse it or maybe sneak aboard with you and Zuko when you leave the Fire Nation? I'm afraid you cannot ignore and direct order from the Fire Lord. If you did, it could be considered treason, and if you were to sneak aboard Zuko's ship, the Fire Lord would quickly realize where you went. He would then declare you a deserter and would hunt you down and bring you back to the Fire Nation, where there would be nothing I could do to help you. The only thing I can think of to stop this is to stay here, stating that I would be training you. But if you did that, then Zuko would be alone. Who knows what will happen to him then, especially with the way he is now. Knowing what Naruto said was true, the former dragon of the West could only place his head into his hands, as he didn't know what to do. If he wanted to protect Naruto, he would have stayed in the Fire Nation and leave Zuko alone to his banishment. But if he went with Zuko, he would be leaving his adopted son alone in the Fire Nation with his brother the Fire Lord trying to manipulate and use him. After a few minutes, Naruto eventually spoke. "Dad, I want you to go with Zuko." "What? Naruto, you can't be serious?" Iroh said in surprise as he looked at his blonde son. "I am, Dad, listen to me. Whether Zuko knows it or not, he needs you more than I do. Naruto, you can't expect me to leave you here alone. I won't be alone. Isn't that right, Xiaozi?" Naruto said as he looked over at the little monkey who jumped off Iroh's shoulder and onto Naruto's. After which he then gave a little salute, indicating that he was ready to do it part. After smiling kindly at the little monkey, Iroh turned back to his son. "Although I'm certain that Xiaozi would do a commendable job and help to protect you, Naruto, I fear that you may need more help, as my brother will try many things to win you over to his way of thinking or to control him. He can try." Naruto replied with a frown, since after what he did to Zuko, Ozai was the lowest form of scum to Naruto. Seeing that his father still had doubts, Naruto went over to him and placed his hand on Iroh's arm. "Dad, you once told me that to do the right thing we sometimes must put the needs of others over our own. I don't want you to go any more than you want to leave me here. But Zuko needs you more than I do. He's got a lot to deal with now, and he needs someone to look out for him. That's why you need to go with him. Either of us want anything more to happen to him. Besides, I can handle myself here, since if Ozai thinks he can manipulate me into becoming one of his little puppets, he's going to be in for a rude awakening," Naruto said with a little smile. When Naruto finished, Iroh could only smile. "When Lu Ten died, a piece of me died along with him, and until I found you, Naruto, I thought I would never feel what it was like to be a father or feel the pride of watching his son become a fine man. But now, thanks to you, I have never felt more pride as a father than I have now. You're a good boy, Naruto. And whether Prince Zuko knows it or not, he is very lucky to have a caring cousin like you." When Iroh finished, he then pulled his son into a strong hug, which was quickly returned by Naruto. Eventually the two let go and Iroh looked Naruto straight in the eye. "Very well, Naruto, I will go. But you must promise me that you will be careful. Do not underestimate my brother, as he will stop at nothing to get what he wants." "Don't worry, Dad, I won't," Naruto replied with a smile. "Good. I will have some of the White Lotus members who are here to look out for you and warn you if need be in the event that my brother tries something else." At this, Naruto just nodded again, where for the remainder of the day the two talked over what was need to be done. The next day, standing at the docks, Naruto watched as Zuko's ship sailed away from him. He had been there to say goodbye to his father and Zuko, who remained distant from Naruto and gruffly said goodbye to the blonde. Before he left, Iroh told Naruto again to be careful, who in turn promised to send a messenger hawk to the former general once a week and keep him apprised of everything that happened. Once the ship was out of sight, Naruto turned to Xiaozi and said, "Well, boy, looks like it's just us for a while and we both have a rough road ahead of us." At this, the little monkey, who was sitting on Naruto's shoulder, moved closer to Naruto's head and panted his face, telling Naruto that they would be alright. Smiling at this, Naruto panted the Litka monkey and turned around and made his way back to the palace. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.